Hello there, everyone. My name is Alex Stevenson, and I want to talk about the two films that we just watched on the life of P.L. Travers. Now, the first one we watched was a documentary on her life, and then the second one we watched was a movie on her life. And I want to compare and contrast and show you the differences in the way that these filmmakers, both of them, decided to portray the life of P.L. Travers on the big screen. And so the three main categories of differences that I see in these films is that of story, production, and purpose. And these are the three main differences that both of these films have. They vary greatly in the way that they execute these categories. And now the first one, jumping into it, they both varied in story, okay? In the documentary, it was very narrator driven, all right? Like all the facts about P.L. Travers in her life was told to you by an outside source, by someone speaking it directly to you. They were explaining it to you. They were informing you of her life and where it was going. While in the movie, it was very character driven. You got to see Walt Disney. You got to even see P.L. Travers herself. You got to see her dad, and nothing was explained to you directly. Instead, it was very indirect. It was very implicit, and you as the audience had to make assumptions and conclusions on the story and the life of P.L. Travers as you watched what happened to each character and watched the tension that was brewing within them. Another difference is that the documentary was very linear. Okay, you started at the beginning and the narrator talked about the beginning of her life, and then it took you all the way to the end of her life. While in the movie, it had this creative back and forth kind of system. They would show you P.L. Travers in the present, and then they would take you back to the past, and they would show you how she is molded in the present, how her character is molded in the present by her past. And they do this back and forth kind of system, not linear at all, but creates this cool cycle that you get to see the development in the characters that present the story to you as the audience. Now, the second main category that these films have differences in is in the production aspect. In the documentary, very inconsistent music, okay? You would have a soft piano or an emotional scene, and then in a few seconds later, you would hear this banging, dramatic music, big changes in music all throughout the film. And it wasn't like they led up to each other, it just kind of happened a little bit. And that's how it was in the documentary. It caught your attention. In the movie, consistent music. Very emotional, very simple, strings throughout the movie, very smooth transitions, very smooth music, all was consistent and stayed pretty much the same. It got soft when you expected to get soft. It got large dramatic when you expected it to get dramatic. Very consistent. Secondly, there was inconsistent cinematography in the documentary. For some shots, it would be high definition, some would be low definition, some would be black and white, and some would be in color, while in the movie, very consistent. It was a warm tone, a lot of oranges. This was consistent throughout the movie. It flowed through the movie, keeping your attention. And then the final difference in the production aspect is the stark transitions in the documentary. Very stark. You would get something from her past, and then you would see a black and white, and then you would see a black and white scene, and then you get a picture of her mentor, and then a little clip on her house. Like, it was very, very different. Very stark, popped out, caught your attention. In the movie, it was very smooth. Everything flowed into each other. Like, you knew where it was going to go. The theming was the same. The music was the same. The transitions were very smooth, not very noticeable like in the documentary. The documentary transitions are very noticeable and they pop out at you. And now in the last difference, the last category that these films greatly differ in is in their purpose. For the documentary, the purpose of the documentary was to inform you, was to give you facts. And so you got to hear about all the little facts of her life when she had a kid. You don't actually know that in the movie. You didn't know she had a kid. Now in the documentary, they show you that fact and how she did get a kid. And they were just they were concerned about informing and giving facts to you, while in the movie it was more about emotion. It was taking you on an emotional journey with the relationship with her father and how she had gotten to the point in life where she had been because of her father. It was very father-focused, very family-focused in her past. And this flows right into the difference that the documentary was very broad, okay? They covered all aspects of her life, the religious stuff, her having a kid, even interviewing her son. Like, these are all facts that you didn't know in the movie, but you knew in the documentary. They gave you a ton of facts. It was very broad about her life. They gave you everything. While in the movie, very focused on the dad, very focused on Walt Disney, very focused on that back and forth mentality. Never told you about their kid, her kid. They never told you about the religious stuff, never told you about her mentors, but was very focused on the emotional journey. And so those are the differences in these films. And I want to thank you guys so much for listening.